behind the baller. My life is more than money and jewelry. My story's so crazy, dog. I said make a movie behind the baller. I went from playing sports to exotic whips. Ain't gotta tell me, dog, I know I'm the shit behind the baller. My life is more than money and jewelry. My story's so crazy, dog. I said make a movie behind the baller. I went from music exec to this podcast. Now I finally feel at home at last. Behind the baller.
Yo, what up, everybody? You were listening to Behind the Baller. This is episode 89, brand new episode. I am your host. My name is Ben Baller, not Ben Humble. Definitely not fuckboy Ben Shapiro. Some people call me the Korean James Spader, but you can call me the Gangster of Love. Yo, what up, y'all? How you guys doing, man? This is going to be a random run around episode. We're going to be talking about all kinds of random ass shit. I have been very, very busy. We have a special guest today, by the way. We got my boy Matt Belinsky, who's an attorney. He's just a real outspoken, savvy, articulate dude. He's super well versed. He can talk fucking forever about all kinds of shit, and he pisses people off. But we'll get into that later. Right now, I do have to tell you guys something. I had a discussion this week with the Dust Brothers, and look, man, there's part of me that wants to retire from everything and only podcast, right? That'd be a dream. Be a father and podcast. You know, you got people like Joe Rogan, obviously killing it. Even someone like Joe Budden is doing well. Obviously, Mike Rappaport does very well off of it. He does other things as well. He's an actor, and he's also a stand-up comedian, and he's good too. But like when I'm done, I'm done. And that's all I want to do is podcast and talk shit and really share even just some of the deepest, craziest stories. And we're going to get into some shit later about my upbringing and why I maybe should see a therapist. And I've gone to therapy before, and I've seen a psychiatrist and a psychologist. I still don't know the difference exactly, but that's not the point. We'll get into that in a second. But what I'm getting into is I had a deep discussion with Miles and Jordan, you know, and this podcasting, remember, this is professional podcasting. You have to be built for this shit. You know, a lot of people have podcasts. A lot of people, you know, they start them. And then even popular podcasts, you know, you hear the murder doc ones, you hear about even gossip, whatever. You know, they have a premise, they have a base, you know, they have a format. And there is somewhat of a format. You know, we do an intro, we have an outro. On the weekends, I have fan questions every other week. We have Jackass of the Week. You know, I have interviews. I've been doing a lot of solo on that ass lately because the phone situation, or like I don't really use Zencaster, and I don't know, it's just kind of tough. You know, it's different when I'm in front of somebody and they feel the energy, and hopefully that comes back soon. But we'll talk about COVID in a second, so it looks like it might not, but people don't give a fuck. I don't know. But going back, you know, I've ran 89 episodes now, straight up. The only time I missed one episode was because of Christmas, and I had to. Like, I just had a lot of shit going on. I was out of town. I was with my family. I didn't want to, like, you know, I was overwhelmed with that, with family and everything. This is obviously before COVID had hit. And now, man, I've gotten to the point where things are starting to open back up. I'm working. Beverly Center is open back up. My store is open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. now. My factory is open, you know, from 6 a.m. to, you know, 10 p.m. I go there as much as I can. There's been so many protests. It's difficult to get to work. Plus, on top of that, look, I don't want no sympathy from anybody. It's difficult for me to leave the house now. Not because I don't want to leave the house because of my kids or anything. I'm talking about as soon as I get on the freeway somewhere, I have somebody recording me and everything else. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I haven't posted the last couple cars that I've got, because I don't want to be noticed. And even though the cars aren't the most regular cars, to me they are, but, you know, to other people they're like, nah, and that may sound pretentious, but, you know, fuck that, I work for it, so fuck you. You know, it wasn't like I came from a rich family. But, you know, anywhere I stop, gas station, hey, aren't you that guy? I mean, to everything. It's crazy. It's how do I say? It could be a gift, you know, but at the same time, like, nah, man, I want my privacy back. And I never, ever thought I'd say that. So with going back to work on jewelry, finishing these J Balvin Murakami pieces, figuring out, okay, when am I actually going to get on a plane to Asia, or when are me and Murakami going to continue this collaboration? I got some things for Cuddy I got to get going on. Yo, Lil Uzi, who, there's this dude, YRN, or hey, I forgot what the fuck his name is. Something Osiris. I don't really follow these rappers, and he's talking about he wants to box everybody and blah, blah. And the thing is, I seen this dude fighting. I mean, look, man, you could have heart and you could be okay and you could take punches, but I mean, bro, you're getting whooped up by people left and right, and he wants to fight Uzi, and Uzi's 5'6", maybe 5'5", maybe 5'4", I don't know. Small dude, but he's tough. Uzi's tough as a motherfucker. Uzi's become an enormously popular rapper. He's jumped into a different level of fame now. He's super famous and everything. And he hit me up this past week, and he's like, hey, man, I'm in town for a little while. Don't know when I'm going back, but yeah, I want to link up with you. I did a repair for him, and, there was like a small little balance he's been trying to pay me, and I just don't have the time. And now, mind you, 4 years ago when I first connected with him, he flew me out to Atlanta. I would go meet him in Philly. We would go hang out in New York and whatever. And, not that I would jump to somebody. It could be Cuddy. It could be anybody. I just don't have the time. Drake could hit me up. I just don't have the time. And this is my main profession. Supposedly, me being a jeweler is my main profession. But because of cannabis, Ben Baldy, the strain hasn't officially launched because I need to get it out there and do it. I don't want them to just soft launch it. I want to launch it and be there. The Topps Project 2020 has taken and consumed a lot of my time. So with that said, Uzi sent me 2 days in a row. He's like, yo, man, why don't you pull up to my hotel? Let's get this, going and whatever. And, I reach out once and people are busy. They don't read messages and anything. After that, I'm like, I'm good. I'm not tripping. But now you get 99.9% of the other jewelers. They're going to run to Uzi. They're going to go to his hotel. They're going to wait outside there. They're going to go follow him around, want to hang out. Bro, I ain't got that kind of time, and I don't give a fuck. That's my boy, but still, it's not that deep. I know Cuddy had just finished this. He has a rough cut of his documentary for Man on the Moon, and I know I'm in it, and he wants me to see it. And I got to get over there and see it because I do want to see it, and that's my guy. I fuck with Cuddy more than I fuck with him on jewelry, but we make some dope shit together. But what I'm trying to get into is I have a lot going on, obviously. I'm designing cards. I have other deals that I got going on. I have to start the NFL Snickers chain. I have to finish J Balvin's chain. Then after that, I have 2 other artists, one enormous, 30, 40 million follower fucking reggaeton dude. I got another big, musician I got to fucking get pieces made for. I got to figure out summer. What are we going to do? There's some small little modifications I'm doing in my home. I got the cannabis shit going on. So I don't know how to do all this. And then, when I talk about podcasting, I don't really get too much into the jewelry or anything else. But what I mean is, I try to keep it somewhat to the current events. I don't just get directly into it and start talking like Wendy Williams or some shit. It's a different type of show, what Behind the Baller is. So I am giving you this long explanation to tell you that I might need an episode off. Before we launch episode 100, I think I might take one off just because I might need to go into, the woods. And that just sounds crazy to even say that. Jump into an RV, take my family to a cabin and decompress for 5 days and then come back and still make it for an episode. So after I record one, boom, I'm like, all right, I'm going to miss whether Thursdays, maybe I'll miss Mondays. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to miss one episode. I'm pre-warning you guys now that I need to get my head right, and I might have to take an episode off because I am really on empty. I'm not burning, the candle at both sides. I'm burning that motherfucker at 6 different edges. It's gone crazy. With that said, listen, man, you guys, again, this is professional podcasting. My man Miles is a fucking wizard. He is a genius. He is a fucking scientist. And I'll tell you why a little bit later. But what I need to get into right now is COVID-19 is starting to fuck around and jump back up. And people are still on that, whatever, it doesn't affect me. I don't believe it. And, just because it don't affect you don't mean it don't exist. I'm up to 51 people that I know who've had it or have had antibodies, right? I'm up to, 3 people dead, but only 12 of those people, besides the deaths, got really, really sick. So, 48 people, 49 people didn't get so bad. And then 20 of them didn't get anything. They didn't even fucking know they had it. That doesn't mean shit because, again, you can start fucking people up. Now, the CDC, the WHO, World Health Organization, they're all fucked up. These motherfuckers are basically crazy. They're telling you 3 + 1 = 4, and then they're like, well, it's actually 4.0009. Okay. Well, no, you know what? We're sorry. It equals 4. Well, actually, you know what? It equals 4.001. What, motherfucker, what? Okay, is it, contagious from someone who's asymptomatic, or is it not, motherfucker? Is it contagious from motherfucker sneezing? Yes, it is. Fuck you. All right? The cloth masks, I know people are wearing them because it's a requirement, but again, man, if you can fucking fart, right? And obviously a girl wearing tight jeans, imagine she farts. That fart is going to go through those tight jeans and you're going to smell that flatulence, okay? So if it goes through that, what the fuck makes you think that a level 4 virus ain't going through a fucking cloth mask? And there's filters here and there. I'm just letting you know, shit is not a joke. There's outbreaks now, again, in some places higher than it was ever in the last few months. The highest, Arizona's having a fucking crazy ass fucking, outbreak. Sacramento is rising heavy. Texas has got hospital beds filling up. Florida is fucking around getting big. And the crazy part with Texas and Florida, Texas ain't shutting down. They're like, fuck this. Oh, well, it is what it is. Florida, they're about to open their gyms this weekend. Like, all right, man, God bless you guys. Restaurants over here are starting to open up. Like, for real, like Javier is one of my favorite restaurants ever. Nothing can fuck with that Crystal Cove vibe. Crystal Cove is in Newport Beach. It is like the Bel Air of Newport Beach. It's where Newport Coast. It's where Kobe Bryant lived. And they got a Javier's there, and they have a Mastro's Ocean Club. And it's just, something about the vibes there and the food. It ain't the super authentic, but it's Mexican, legit Mexican, high-end 5-star cuisine. It's dope. I always have a lot of memories when I think of that place. The vibes are just good. It's, a lot of fucking racist Trump people. I don't give a fuck. But, you go out there and it's a dope place to take a nice whip and go either on a Sunday afternoon or on a Tuesday night. It's just always popping. And Javier's is open back up. They got one in Century City. One of my homegirls, Queen P.E.E., Pilar. She's a really pretty girl, entrepreneur. I should have her on the podcast. I wonder. She's funny as fuck. And she's just cool. She's just a hustler. She does her thing. And she invited me to her birthday party this weekend at fucking Javier's. And I was like, yo, hold on. What? Like, you tripping? Are you serious? And she's like, yeah, no, just pull up. And I'm like, all right, cool, but I'm like, nah, I ain't pulling up. You fucking tripping. Also, Las Vegas, my boys run the win. EBC just announced that they're going ahead and opening up. So I'm like, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, obviously ain't gonna be no old motherfuckers there, but I'm skeptical. I want to go to Vegas and hang out and chill. I gotta see. And I asked my boy, I was like, yo, you guys gonna wear masks? And he's like, nah, man, just the employees are gonna wear masks. So I don't know how the fuck this is going to happen because, again, in a few weeks, we're going to see how bad this shit gets and what's going on. And yeah, it's been really hot. It's fucking 94 degrees in LA today. Yesterday, it was fucking like 91, 92. It was hot as a motherfucker. In the hills, it'd be hot as a bitch. But side note, if you don't have Citizen app, I mean, every single person that I fucking know has just signed on in the last week. And I've had it since like maybe January or something, but everyone is signing on. It's crazy because you type in your zip code and it shows everything that's fucking going on. It's like fucking Instagram, but for any kind of police call, any disruption in your neighborhood that would involve the fire department or the police, you get a notification. It's fucking crazy. My wife is addicted to it. It is way better than Nextdoor app. Nextdoor app is a little bit more true friendly. This is just crazy, but Citizen app is nuts. So we will see about this COVID situation. I am going to discuss that with Matt Belinsky. He kind of knows, just from he's like me, but he has some knowledge about it. What else? Oh yeah, check it out. My gold vacuum sealers just got in. I got them yesterday. I will send out to the winners. There was 4 winners on this show. 2 of them, I believe, were somewhat local. One is in the Midwest somewhere, and the other dude's in Tokyo. That's that Dave, Bape from Dave, dude. I'm going to send those out as soon as I can. I've been shipping out shit. So real quick, let's get into the hobby now instead of later. My Cal Ripken card is available right now. As you are listening to this podcast, if you are listening to it in real time, there is less than 22 hours for you to get this card, okay? There is less than 22 hours for you to get this card. This Cal Ripken card has meant a lot to me. a lot of these other cards I've put a lot of effort in, and some of them, like the Ichiro, I didn't put too much effort in, but I had my design. Now I'm starting to notice every artist is coming with it. Every artist that is in this project 2020 is starting to get gangster with it. My man, Mr. Cartoon, has joined the party for autographs. I don't know anybody on the earth who has a better hand style, who understands. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest tattoo artists on earth, one of the biggest, not just my mentor, but this dude specializes in lettering. His hands are insured for $2-3 million, obviously because his hands, they're built to, to fucking make his money. Those are his earners. And when I think about him signing autographs, I'm like, all right, now I got to have him sign some shit. He's done so many different things. I've had Cartoon sign posters for me, dollar bills, all kinds of shit. But anyways, he's joined the party for the autographing thing. We'll get in that in a second. But my Cal Ripken card, the reason why it's so special is that I had designed a beautiful card. I don't know if it was at that Dwight Gooden level, but blue skies, Goodyear blimp in the sky. I had grass looked like it was iced out. I had colors. The fuck did I do? I had diamond letters, different diamond letters, a lot more colors. It was really bright and it was cool. It was, I'd say it was, I liked it like about as much as my Mike Trout, maybe a little less. It was cool. But then George Floyd had died and he was murdered and a lot of shit had happened, and the Black Lives Matter protests and all the stuff that's going on, the riots. And I was like, man, I had asked Topps, could I change my card to Jackie Robinson so it made sense? Because all the fucking adversity and shit and everything, this crazy racism and, social, racial injustice that had happened with Jackie Robinson and what he overcame. They're like, nah, man, we had that for, King Saladin is releasing it soon. So, you can't. And I was like, you know what, dog, it's all good. Cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to black this whole entire motherfucking card out. In fact, we had to get permission to fucking make the jersey black because it was altering the jersey. MLB is very strict. And I pretty much blacked out that entire Cal Ripken card as much as I could. I threw in the AC/DC font, because back in black and it was just rock and roll. It was that era, 82, it makes sense for Cal Ripken Jr. And when I looked at the final, card, I was like, wow, I fucking love this card. And it's going to really remind me, like I said, it's going to forever remind me of what was going on at that time when I dropped this card. So it's a very important card. I tell people again, if you buy a 10 pack, it's like $14-15 per card. If you buy one card, it's $20. I hope the card does well. You got someone like Keith Shore who sold 99,000 cards with his Griffey, and it was coming off a weekend where I was promoting heavy. I was going hard in the motherfucking paint for a Dwight Gooden card. The hobby was moving crazy. People were buying crazy cards. And then you go and see he had a card that just ended this weekend, and the final print run was 10,800. And that's an enormous difference. Like, we're talking ridiculous difference, right? And there's been kind of a correction, like I said, in the hobby with everything else. The Blake card did very well. I collab with them on that. I don't think I'll be collabing with anybody else. I'm going to be focusing on my shit. And with that said, this Ripken card, I want it to do well because the better it does, the more I can give. I've been doing a lot of donating and a lot of charity work and things like that. And it's great because it's for a great cause. And by the way, my error card, the Trout error card that I put fuck on and everything else actually happened to be, it was won by one of my friends, mutual friends. So it was actually won by somebody locally who is a professional poker player. And, the auction ended at 10,300, or I forgot what it was, somewhere around there. And the great thing about it was half of the money went to 100 Black Men of Atlanta. You should look up that charity. It is amazing. They enrich young Black men in Atlanta, extracurricular outside of school to build them, mold them, and groom them to fucking amazing people. And then after fees and stuff, and fees were fucking expensive. It might have been like $600, $700 or whatever. And then PayPal fees and everything. Then the rest, I was like, yeah, man, just throw that shit to the bailout fund, which I'll be doing in the next 14 days when everything clears. But yeah, go get that Cal Ripken card. It is something special. That is a special moment of this project. And so next week, just want to give you guys a heads up. Next week, I will be selling my Ricky Henderson autograph cards. Okay. We are not doing any more PayPal, No more emails, none of that shit. I have a website. We have a Shopify account. It is a full-blown thing. It is going to be basic, straight to the point. You will be able to purchase the 1 of 5 Ricky Henderson autograph cards in gold ink, which I provide the cards, okay? And then you will be able to purchase an autograph, the 1 of 50 autograph in silver or whatever random team color that I'd use for Ricky Henderson. And this will be the card that you have to provide, meaning you have to own a Ricky Henderson in order to get autograph for the 1 of 50. It will be the last time you have to do this. I know it's a pain in the ass to ship them to me. Trust me, we're not doing this shit anymore. All right. The next card that we get is obviously Dwight. From there on, boom, I'm ready to go. I'm rock and roll. Like there's no more fucking having to worry about that shit. I'm providing everything. The 1 of 5 cards, I got you. Those are being sold on the site. I provide that. The 1 in 50, you're going to have to send them to me. I'm going to sign them. That's going to be it. Obviously, number 24 is going to be a special card because that's Ricky's number. And then number 42 is my number. So number 42 will always be a special card in every one of these sets. As I'd mentioned on the previous podcast, there will be no more than 50 cards that are autographed BBDTC ever again, period, point blank. We're going to make this rare. I do have a pop-up that's going to happen in LA. I'll talk about that another time because that's not going to happen now. Prepping for my Jeter card. This should be my biggest card. If it is not, then it is going to be Griffey. This is going to be an enormous thing. I have Mr. Derek Jeter, who is involved in helping me with promoting this card. I am giving away a $15,000 Derek Jeter 2 chain, and it is Cartier level quality. It will be randomly sent just like the 101 card. And this is just, it's fucking crazy. Like, I'm really excited about where this is going. And, yo, man, let's get into this interview with Matt Belinsky. Like I said, he's an attorney, very smart, savvy dude, knows a lot about startups and things like that. And the good thing about this is that this is a business podcast, technically. So I want you guys to give my boy Matt Belinsky some love. This is the only thing I want to warn you guys right now. My internet has been fucked up for the last 72 hours. So please forgive me. We do a digital call. You know what I mean? We do a digital phone call, and some of it's fucked up. Miles did as much surgery as he could, but I apologize. I know this is professional podcasting. We're in hi-fi stereo. When I record, different when we're doing a phone call. But this Matt Belinsky story interview is good. So that's coming up right now. Miles, speaking of Miles, hey, I want to say hi to Jordan too. Jordan, you fuck. Could you hit me off with some of that LL? And you know I'm not talking about LL Cool J. I'm talking about that funky white boy from Arizona at Lakey Inspired. We'll be right back with the interview, guys. Huge thanks to Podcorn for sponsoring this episode. If you or your friends have a podcast and are looking to explore sponsorship opportunities and start monetizing your podcast, sign up at podcorn.com/podcasters. My own personal experience using Podcorn has been great. Really friendly, hardworking people who have connected behind the baller with many of the sponsorships that you've heard on this show. Best part is that unlike some other advertisers, they get you paid fast. Great communication, great tech, and lightning fast turnaround for payment. Podcorn is sponsoring this episode, but I've recommended them to my friends who have podcasts, and now I'm recommending them to you. Podcorn is a marketplace connecting podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities, such as host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. With Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform. Set their own rates and collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities. You never give up any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is here to support you at every step and ensure you're protected and compensated for the work that you do for brands. Click the link in my show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities. Check out podcorn.com/podcasters. Thanks to our friends at Podcorn who love bringing BTB sponsorships so much that they want to become a sponsor as well. Big things coming for Podcorn and Behind the Baller. Yo, what up, y'all? You are tuned in to Behind the Baller, another episode. We have a special guest. He goes by the name Matt Belinsky. I assume that is his government name. He's going to tell you why he's here.
That is the official name.
Yo, listen, do me a favor. First of all, man, thank you for coming on the show. I know you're very outspoken. Do me a favor. Please tell the good listeners, the people, what it is that you exactly do and why you rile feathers up so well.
Oh, man. The last part of that could be a few different things, but let's see. I'm an attorney in Los Angeles, represent mostly companies in the digital sphere, startup world. That means stuff like digital media, e-com, consumer internet, software, but other high growth businesses. Also kind of, wear a couple different hats in the startup world, non-legal advising, investing and whatnot. And then I also, at least out of COVID recently, kind of put together a bit of a makeshift news operation, commenting on, the issues of the day. And it was kind of called BNN, kind of just friends of mine just kind of came up with that as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek take on CNN. But I've been doing some videos and some content, just trying to, have discussions around the relevant topics of the day. And I don't know, man, in terms of why I rile people up, could be something in the bloodline. I don't know. I think, and I guess if I had to boil it down, and I know how this sometimes comes off, but I think most people are dominated by groupthink and confirmation bias. And I'd like to believe that I at least try not to be. Right. And so when you kind of comment on that and blast through that, seems to spark some reactions and emotions on the other side.
What's funny is, if you didn't know, I've been talking about coronavirus on my show since February. And at one point, because I challenged the CDC and I challenged the Surgeon General publicly, when I ended up being right, and it's not even about being right or wrong, but it was just about just being aware, and giving people awareness and alerting people, that it's out there. And hey, man, take it as you want, whether you believe it exists or not. Just know, don't go out there and be like, yo, man, I think I want to be a boxer. And then you get your ass beat in the gym one day, be like, yo, man, what the fuck, bro? Like, I don't want to fuck with boxing. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? You was going to go out there and anyways, going on. With that said, at one point, Behind the Baller was trending in the COVID space. We were the only non-virologist, epidemiologist, not doctor. How about this? Not even a fucking research person was not. We were the only one. So people were kind of like, like University of Nevada or Las Vegas, UNLV, their Department of Infectious Diseases is very high. Like they're legit. They're very reputable. They had kind of been like, what the fuck is this jeweler dude? You know what I mean? Why is he trending? And, because Apple has, over 1 million podcasts now, right? And there's got to be, and I had one of the first people who got infected, happened to be a friend of mine. He was on the show. So I had a lot of knowledge, not like in-depth science, you know what I mean? But I had obviously, like real shit that was going on. And the information I said was coming out right. So I gave it a rest for weeks now. And it's funny because we were trying to do this for weeks with me and you, but actually this falls into play even better now because I just saw a report. And look, man, I'm not left. I'm not blue. I'm not red. I'm not motherfucking right. I'm not wing. I'm none of that shit. You know what I mean? I am who I am. But the thing is, I don't fuck with Trump. But the crazy part is, Texas is a red state. I just saw on the news today, they have their highest amount of cases. And I know, I get it. They're testing more people. But the issue is, out of their 69,000 infections, 29% of those infections have happened in the last 2 weeks. And, they're filling beds up, in Texas. And look, man, I'm not out here to tell people not to protest. I said, man, it's a big cause. I get it. And people are out and they're angry and tensions are high. And I understand, but this shit is out there. A lot of people are like, they make jokes. Oh, so just like that, coronavirus is gone. And I'm like, nah, bro. Like, what are your thoughts about these people? Even like celebrities, whoever the fuck it is with a big platform with over 100,000 followers saying, oh man, that shit's a joke. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, listen, hey, we're me and you are a couple of straight shooters, right? So, I'm going to, it's a needle to thread, obviously, because who's going to sit here and deny that there's a very powerful emotion and powerful force towards organizing, protesting, and doing that right now. And that, I would be a fool to sit here and deny that there's legitimacy to it, or that, simply society's not going to move with some of that powerful energy. On the other hand, there is a true and just unavoidable, if you're trying to look at things clearly, contrast and, conflict between, all right, 3 weeks ago, you've got officials and you've got, a certain piece of the elite that are very, very aggressively saying, hey, this is dangerous. We've got to stay at home. These lockdowns make sense. We've got to put public health first, and are coming with one message, and then are coming with a completely different message a couple weeks later. And you just can't, I know that a lot of people right now want to sidestep some of these issues, but there just is a logical conflict between those two things. And so, you've got to, obviously you start, unpacking that and looking at it from a few different angles, and judging, and as what I think is a place that me and you are both resided, is listen, we're about judging the risks and the benefits and the costs and the benefits. And so you got to do that here. And I think, anyone who is being responsible is saying, like, listen, guys, if you do feel powerful enough about this to go and protest and go, be in a high density situation, I mean, be aware of the risks that you're taking, and to the extent that you can take precautions. But let's be honest. I mean, it's hard to take precautions in those types of situations. Part of the whole idea of these protests and rallies is a bit of a boisterous energy. So, the kind of calm, more distant, okay, let's maintain social distancing, let's wear masks, let's take these precautions. It kind of has a bit of an inherent conflict with that. So it's very difficult, and it's going to be something that every person with a platform has to measure on, within their own judgment based on the costs and benefits.
I mean, but you got to understand though, it's when you're talking about 60,000 people in Hollywood, there's no such thing as fucking social distancing. You could be screaming through masks. 80% of these people don't have any kind of a filter in their mask, literally wearing cloth. And, I know memes are funny, and you see these memes are like, you think if you could smell a fart through a girl's tight jeans, what the fuck you think that cloth mask is going to do to a fucking level 4 virus? And I'm being serious. Yeah, level 4 virus is going to go right through that fucking mask. So, I'm just saying, how do you feel about people saying that the virus is just gone?
I think it's much like people saying that the virus was non-existent in the first place. I mean, I think it's nonsense, and because it requires ignoring very obvious evidence. And while I think that we can say it's that difficult place to reside, where you can acknowledge that some of the projections and concerns may have been overwrought. I mean, it didn't end up being as bad in a lot of regards as certain people suggested, and not just certain people, certain credible people. Yet, it's still a risk and still a thing.
But that was good, though. You know what I mean? That was a good thing that it was less than what they expected. That's actually,
Absolutely. But look at it. When you're in an environment where everyone is just trying to be right and just trying to take their facts to batter the people on the other side over the head, look what that creates. Where you've got whoever's going to be looking for, nobody's looking for that space that I just described that me and you seem to occupy, right? Everyone's looking for the space of either one, this is a major risk, and everyone's got to essentially, deprioritize all their other desires in life to make sure we protect against this. Or they're going to look for the evidence that this was maybe not a hoax, but a hoax adjacent, something that was just a complete mistake and completely exaggerated. And everyone's just looking, and that doesn't lead to good decision making. That doesn't lead to good judgment. It doesn't lead to being smart. It just leads to finding ways to go and send memes or send a screenshot to your buddy or post on social media and go try to own the other side. And that I think we see. Look at the ratio. What's the ratio of that type of communication versus people looking for a sensible truth? I mean, the ratio is not good
for sure. And look, I'm not even going to begin. We're not going to discuss in this episode, but a lot of the people that believe that this virus is a hoax or they're the pandemic people, those are all the same people that are anti-vaxxers, which is fucking crazy as fuck, right? And it's just like, yo, man. And some people are like, Ben, man, you're successful. You would do what Korea's doing. And I'm like, man, if it's going to save my son's life, who's at high risk, and he has a very slight chance of living if he were to get it because he has a severe respiratory illness and he's had it all his life and it's crippled him almost. Fuck yeah, I'm going to listen to what the fuck the government said. And they're like, damn, I can't believe you would do that. I'm like, listen, man, you guys don't get it. Like, there's certain freedoms that of course, it doesn't affect you, you know? So you don't think it exists, just like racism, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Nothing's more powerful than personal experience, right? And that's one of the mind fucks about the corona, about a virus in particular, is because it's something that's exponential in nature. Where it gets bad, it gets really bad. And where it doesn't get bad, it doesn't really, you don't really see much impact, right? Like how many people, even at this point, were, almost 4 months into when things started heating up in Italy. And a lot of people still haven't been able to explain why it got so crazy in northern Italy and then fucking Rome barely gets touched. So it's like, if you're going to go into lockdown, if it hasn't spread in certain territories, whoever's in those territories is going to look at the situation and think, this is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But then you have to look at the places that it did spread, and you can't ignore those, right? You can't just look at Rome. You can't just look at a variety of, California, for instance, that never got nearly as bad as most people are anticipating.
Yeah.
But if you're going to look at the totality of the evidence, you see that in certain situations where there was an outbreak, just the divergence between how bad it gets in those spots versus everywhere else. It just speaks to the nature of the situation. But then you have too many people who, because their personal experience was not in the hot zones and in the outbreaks, want to just ignore those and want to say, something, it didn't affect me. How many people do you know? It was like, motherfucker, like, I don't know that many people, but like, I'm not going to just ignore the dozen crazy hotspots that are just absolute freaking war zones around the world right now. Like, that's the thing. Not everyone's in a conspiracy to somehow fabricate that these places have people, not able to get their fucking appendix out after their births because there's people that they don't have enough doctors because everyone's in there for COVID. This is not no one's imagining this.
No, of course. Look at, man, I have friends who are pretty logical and they're not in conspiracies or anything. And then I kind of see them and they're like, look, dude, there's really a lot of people dying from the flu. And I'm like, let me explain something to you real quick. The first sure sign, especially early on when testing wasn't really available, you ain't even getting a COVID test if you have the flu. Understand that. When I had my boy who got infected and ended up killing his grandmother, she ended up dying because of it, and this is a good friend of mine. The surefire sign was he didn't have any symptoms, but he felt kind of sick, and they kept asking him questions. He's on the phone with the CDC, and then they said, have you been tested for the flu? And he said, yes. And she goes, what happened? He goes, I tested negative. Right then and there, she transferred him to the emergency line, boom. And that's when they knew, they said, oh, you know what, this guy has a good chance of having it. That was just because everything he was saying. And a lot of people are saying, oh, they're getting $1,900, $5,000 extra for every person that says has COVID, the insurance companies, the hospitals, blah, blah, whatever. And I'm telling my boy, I'm like, bro, if it was the fucking flu and they tested positive for the flu, they're not going in that room. Do you know what I mean? It's two different things. It's like, I can't explain to you, like, you're not going to service BMWs in a Benz dealership. And he was like, wait a second, what do you mean? And I'm like, forget it, dog. You're just not listening to me right now. If that person had the flu and they died of the flu, that autopsy is not going to say COVID because it's two different things. You know what I'm saying? That was the whole purpose. And he's just, and this is a person, again, who's not, it's just, but again.
And that's particularly with what you just mentioned about the, potential inflation due to, incentives for Medicare reimbursement. That's a really good example of where people get off the reservation in terms of thinking about conspiracy theories in general, right?
Yeah.
In that you see something that might be kind of shady. Like, sure, is there possibly some degree of inflation due to some of the perverse incentives of the Medicare reimbursement? Sure. But people then take that and then just drag it way beyond what they scale it out, right?
For
and
sure.
Like, dude, unbelievable. And that happens. Listen, this is obviously I'm picking an arbitrary number here, but I'm pretty sure like a very high majority of conspiracy theories come from that, of seeing something that is could be a little sinister, could be a perverse incentive, and then just blowing it completely out of proportion. Like, guys, we don't have the same Medicare system. The same system does not exist in Spain. It doesn't exist in the UK. It doesn't exist in Italy. It doesn't exist in all these other places that are like very obvious breakout spaces as well. So how do you account for those? But nobody wants to go through this, the past the second layer of thinking. No one wants to have to account for all those factors. They want to see one variable and then come up with their fucking theory.
They don't even want to open the screen door. They just want one way. And anyway, look at, man, let's get into this shit real quick. So how do you think conspiracy theories and conspiracy content like pandemic become popularized?
One, certainly what I just mentioned in terms of being able to identify a few mildly shady things and then just exploiting that. At this point, we're 70, 80 years into video content. We're about 15 years into digital, a lot of digital video content. These people are not dumb. People have been studying this. They know what moves mountains. They know what gets people's emotions charged. Okay. They know how to edit video. They know how to put music to stuff, right? So if you have a population that's kind of confused in the first place about what's true and what's not true, because they have information coming from so many different places, you can convince a lot of people just by speaking with a lot of assurance and some tricky and some cute editing techniques. And from, once again, when people are unsure of what the truth is and how things are supposed to operate, they're more susceptible to out and left field type of theories about it. And I think that's really getting played on by a lot of people these days.
Okay, so why do people fall for that? I mean, give me the obvious reasons.
People are having a tough time making sense of the world, right? Particularly around COVID, right? It's a mass traumatic event, right? This was, people's lives were just interrupted from all these things. They built up all these distractions, all these day-to-day distractions, and they're just like, what's supposed to occupy my mental space right now, right? So once you have those distractions taken away and they start to look around and think about a little, they don't start thinking critically, but they kind of realize they should think more critically because they don't have all these things occupying their brain space. At that point, they're just more fucking susceptible, man. They're looking for an explanation. And the things that people have looked to for explanations for a long time, whether it be the government, whether it be their family, whether it be some religious institutions, a lot of those have been fraying the last, particularly, we're 20 years now into this century. Generally the century, and in particular the last 10 years, as the internet and social media have really ramped up. And so the less answers someone's got, the more they're looking for answers, and people trying to give them easy ones are always going to have a leg up.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Did you actually watch that video, Plandemic? I mean, I got through like almost 22 minutes of it. I breezed through a little bit here and there. Did you watch the whole thing?
I got about 10 minutes. I admittedly, I couldn't really get that. It's just...
I was like, bro, man, come on, dog.
Yeah. And listen, confirmation bias is if I've never done heroin, but I can't imagine confirmation bias more powerful than that. Okay.
No, for sure.
People are just drawn to look for, all the pieces of evidence that support what they hope is true. And the inertia of trying to get them to step off that, I mean, it's thick.
Nah, for sure. So this is where I'm asking you for some advice from my listeners. What is your advice to entrepreneurs looking to start something up during this COVID crash?
Entrepreneurs, hey, if you've got the stomach for it, this is a good time. I mean, it just is, because once institutions, companies, and habits are broken down, that creates a lot of space for new stuff to pop up. I mean, it's no coincidence that you look back on so many of the big digital companies, and they were started, 2008 to 2011 or 12. And, you got to follow the momentum. You look at where behavior is shifting. You look at what's getting attention, and you just kind of follow the attention and attack it aggressively. I kind of think is I know that that's kind of vague. It's not, about the blocking and tackling, but, you try to figure out, okay, what shifts are being accelerated right now? Like, there's a weird thing going on with PPE, for instance, that seems to still be going on, where just so many people who are out there who are hustlers, like, all right, I got to get into PPE deals, and that made a lot of sense. We'll see how sustainable that is. But think about something like like teleconferencing and work from home. Like, it's clear that that's something that's going to be accelerated, even if it's not going to be as prevalent as people think. Yeah.
I read something about Zoom. Zoom did billions or something. I forgot what it is, just in the last few months.
Oh, Zoom, some of the earnings call from Zoom, like, there are VCs and tech guys that I follow on Twitter. I've never seen them react the way that they did to Zoom's earnings call last week. It's insane. Like, the amount of free cash flow that they're generating is like psychotic. So, but here's an interesting way to look at that, is someone said something very interesting, is that Zoom is just the compact and Prodigy era of teleconferencing. Like this is just stage one. Yeah. This is just the early stages.
Damn.
So as this evolves, they're going to have to keep on enhancing that experience. And that could be, in terms of the tech directly, in terms of, I don't know. I think there's going to have to be more like an official delivery service specifically delivering for corporations to their employees who are at home, right? Because everyone's just going to rely on Postmates and DoorDash, and who the hell knows how long those are going to be around. Like just as a for instance, right? So don't think that just because Zoom is out there that the story's already been told on teleconferencing and there's no more money to be made.
No, of course, dude. Okay, so look, man, I always tell people, look, dude, just because something is successful don't mean that there can't be a part two or another company similar to it, because if that was the case, then Burger King and Carl's Jr. and Jack in the Box, these other fucking billion-dollar companies would never exist. They would be like, fuck it. It's like, McDonald's is successful.
Oh, bro, look at what Zoom did, right? If there's that much market, then there's enough market share to eat up. You trim a little bit, you trim 5, 10, 15% off that. Good God. And we're just getting going.
For real. What is force majeure, right? And why is it such a key legal business issue in regards to COVID?
Yeah, okay, so force majeure, and this is one that's been kicked around. More people have been discussing this than you would have ever imagined. It's technically, a term for it that means act of God. And the confines of contracts is that if an act of God or other events outside the reasonable control of either party in a contract occurs. So, in the context of COVID, a lot of it is, retailers and businesses that are tenants that can't use their office space or can't use their retail space. So I was like, listen, guys, an event beyond our control, interceded, right? So we can't use the space. You can't lease it to us. We can't utilize it. So a force majeure has been enacted, and we should be excused from performance. At least that's the argument being made by tenants. Landlords want to argue, depending on the language in the contract, certainly want to argue in the opposite direction. Or, for instance, a sporting event. Let's say that the NBA you had sponsors who had already bought time from NBA or sports broadcasts. They expected, other than maybe one game gets canceled because of an earthquake or God knows what, right? They weren't expecting 20, 25, 30 games to get canceled. So, okay, now that a force majeure, now that an act of God, in this case, COVID and the pandemic has occurred, that's going to interfere in that's going to may or may not excuse the performance of one party in the contract. And so the thing is, it's interesting about this pandemic is that pandemic is not a term that I've seen, 5,000 of these clauses, right? You see earthquake, you see fire, you see casualty, you see war. You don't really often see pandemic, but the way that these clauses are phrased, it's in kind of a litany. So it's kind of like expected that it will also capture some concepts that haven't been expressly written in the clause. So there's a lot of room for interpretation of whether or not a pandemic applies to the clauses. So obviously every one of these provisions is separate. You got to look at the specific language, but there's going to be a lot of battles over whether or not this definition of force majeure included pandemic. So that's the generalities around that. And then one, interesting tip that I think that was something that just kind of came to me as I was, doing some contracts that are now starting under the regime of COVID is you want to make sure that you say in the contract that, whatever the conditions are as of the date of the contract don't constitute a force majeure. Because think about it like this. Like I do a lot of brand deals, right? A brand is asking this influencer to put together some content and participate in a campaign in exchange for some cash. So if we enter into that contract and there's just a normal force majeure clause, let's say, a week into it, the brand wants to back out. They'll just throw the force majeure flag and say, hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And it's like, motherfucker, you knew we were in a pandemic when we entered into the contract, but the language might not accommodate that.
Okay, guys, you hear that? That is very good advice right there. That's especially for the influencers that follow me, other people that are trying to do that. That's some good advice. How do you see things playing out with China?
Man, I would have said, something completely different a week or two ago. For a minute or two, it really did seem like a lot of the United States, a lot of the Western countries, and a lot of the other industrial powers were allying against China. Said, listen, we can't let this one country consume that much of the world's manufacturing, and it leads to us all being dependent on them economically. You had India, you had Japan, funding some repatriation of some of their manufacturing to the homeland. You had India. India smelled blood, right? India was like, okay, we have the manpower. We want this business. Hey, anyone who wants to step away from China, please come to India. And then some people, and once again, this is not just people who are foreigners who manufacture in India. I mean, I've literally talked with infrastructure experts from India, said like, listen, we can soak up some of this business, but it's going to be a minute or two because we're just not as good. We don't have the logistics down as well, but we need to get there. And then, with what the upheaval that's been going on in the U.S., the last couple of weeks, it's kind of drawn, the world's biggest consumer economy's attention away from that. And is the U.S. really going to be there to lead a charge of all these industrialized nations to take their business away from China? I still think that's going to happen. I think it's just, who the hell knows what's going to happen in the U.S. generally. But, I think it's just too undeniable. It's too obvious that good sense just says we're not going to be, whether or not we continue to manufacture apparel. And one U.S. politician said, anything up to plastics. Anything up to plastics, yeah, we'd prefer not to have done in China, but whatever. If it's done in China, we're not going to bother anyone. Pharmaceuticals, anything military grade, anything complicated, we need to bring that back home. So is that going to be an easy process? Is it going to be an obvious process? No, particularly given what's going on with us right now. But I think some of that is going to, we're going to redirect some of that, and the relationship with China is going to recalibrate somewhat. And we're going to have to see if some of the other Asian nations that are not very happy with China right now take a sterner tone with them. If India is able to really fill that gap in manufacturing capability, and then also what's going on with sorry, I always mispronounce it, but Huawei in terms of 5G. You saw the British government the U.S. had been trying to get the Brits to not use Huawei for a bunch of 5G infrastructure. And they had been failing at that for a while. The UK just said, listen, their products are better. We don't care that they might be a strategic rival. A few weeks ago, once again, we'll have to see after this upheaval what transpires. The British government had dropped that position and was gravitating towards the U.S. on 5G. So that's a really tough one. I think it's the critical, if not the critical issue of the coming period, one of them. And but it's one that's shifting rapidly because my perspective on that has shifted quite a bit over the course of the last 2 weeks because while a lot of these countries, the U.S. included, had their eyes on China and how they were going to recalibrate that relationship, we've obviously gravitated towards other priorities right now.
Look, man, off firsthand, I used to own a factory in China, in mainland China, not fucking Beijing, not Shanghai, like for real. And I've discussed it, not going to get into that. They're far more superior as far as look at labor, imagine. And let me just give you perspective. I'm a jeweler, okay? A very good diamond setter. And when I say very good, I want to say at least a S-Class Benz level. So at an S-Class Benz level, a diamond setter in downtown Los Angeles could get somewhere between $5 and $6 to set a stone. Now remember, some pieces could have 1,000 diamonds in it, could have 300, 80 diamonds. But what I'm saying is I'm making hip hop pieces. They have a lot of diamonds in them. It could be a stone, it could be a sapphire, whatever it is. These guys, a very good diamond setter in Los Angeles would get about $5, $6 a stone, okay? In the South, they might get somewhere between $2 to $3, $4, okay? In New York City, it's upwards of $9, $10, $11, okay? In the UK and like in Switzerland, it's up to like $15 a stone, In Hong Kong, or in China even, if you find the right place, there are places that are giving you that S-Class level setting, and they're doing it for fucking 25 cents a fucking stone. They're doing legitimate New York, LA. They're not doing Cartier level, but they're doing legitimate S-Class Benz level work for 25 cents a fucking stone. So with that said, and they're doing it ridiculously. Now, on another level, I own a cannabis pen company. In January, before anyone knew, people knew about the pandemic because, a couple things were going on. Chinese New Year was happening, so we knew we were going to shut down. It happens with everyone that's in the garment industry, whatever. We use a pen technology called C-Cell. C-Cell technology it's like the Apple technology for cannabis pens, vape pens, disposables especially. So, we ordered a shit ton, close to 1 million pens, and we expected I will be good. Come March, April, we're running low on pens. So we ordered the pens. Everything's shut down in China. There's a 70-day quarantine. You can't do nothing. Boom. So finally, our pens are ready to go. The factory owners are gangsters. They go and ship the shit out. Man, that shit sat in customs for almost 2 months. Do you know what I mean? With all the shit that's going on. And like, yo, man, you can't get infected. The shit's been in a fucking boat, on a slow boat, for like 7 days. By the time it got to us, ain't nobody, you know what I mean? There's no fucking virus on the fucking pens. Give us our pens. I just got the shits like 3 days ago. But I'm just letting you know, it's just crazy, just the way we tried. There's only Taiwan. I wish there was a place in America that could create that pen and do it at the same rate and for the same price and everything. It's just fucked up. It is what it is. But anyways, my last question for you is, do you believe, in your own personal opinion, do you think a second round of coronavirus is going to hit and it's going to fuck us up?
I feel analogy I would make is almost like the kind of wars that we've been in, the U.S. has been in this century, in that we don't win them and we don't lose them, right? In that we haven't crushed the coronavirus. You know, like, listen, like you're looking right now, Texas, Georgia, Arizona, a couple of the territories there, you're seeing some rise. You're not seeing a crazy rise, but you're seeing some rise. And I think some of that obviously has to do with, you know, the fact that it's seasonal, right? And I know, just like this fucking flu season, it looks like there's COVID season. It's going to be more prevalent sometimes than others. So I think you're going to see it's going to stay there. I don't think it's going to be this massive spike in the way that we saw New York, you know, obviously New York and New Jersey in March and April, or, you know, New Orleans or Detroit or some of those hot spots. I think it's going to kind of, for better, for worse, and hey, everyone can have their own opinion and own viewpoint on this, but it's going to be one of these slow burns, like an Afghanistan war that, you know, everyone kind of forgets about, but it's kind of in the back of your mind. But then you turn around and, oh shit, we've been there for 17 years and it's just been this perpetual condition. I'm not saying it's going to be perpetual for years, but I think that you're going to see a small rise. It's the numbers, they just have to go up, right? Because you're quadrupling, quintupling, however many times over, the interaction amongst people and how many people are near each other, right? So I think, you know, taking it from lockdown to those conditions, it's going to rise a bit.
Okay, let me reiterate this a little bit. I'm sorry. Do you think that we are going to go back into a quarantine again, maybe, you know, come November?
It's probably, that question is probably above my pay grade, but yeah.
Okay, is Christmas canceled? Tell me.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be, fuck, man, I want to stay positive. One, no, I don't think we're going to go back into lockdown. But two, I don't think Christmas is going to be quite as cheery a time as it has been. I think it's going to be a more chaotic time. I think we're going to exist in kind of a bit of a gray area between, you know, there's going to be an outbreak of COVID. We're going to be a little more prepared because the medical system knows what to do. We'll have the PPE, we'll have the supplies. But American society is not going to be operating as, I mean, look at what the fuck's going on. I mean,
bro, shit ain't normal now.
But we need institutions, we need hospitals to operate, right? We need people to know, to be trusting in a certain aspects of the system, and that doesn't seem to be happening right now. So on the one hand, I think we're going to be more prepared. So even if the actual virus outbreak does occur, we're going to know how to handle it a bit. But on the other hand, I mean, who the hell knows if hospitals and the institutions that are supposed to be enforcing public health and informing the people in that relationship between those institutions and the population, who knows what that's going to look like. So, I mean, I'm mildly pessimistic without being doomsday pessimistic.
Okay, but like, how do you feel about the hospitality business, the nightclubs, the 5-star dining, you know, going to fucking Ibaldi, you know what I'm saying? Going to eat at Mr. Chow's and like, how do you feel about that? Like,
well, me personally, like, I'll admit it. And, you know, maybe I just feel like, listen, man, I mean, I feel like we've got to the point that this is now a risk that is a part, just like in normal life, every day you go out there kind of subconsciously knowing there's some risks that some things may happen. And now this is one of them. Because what's the alternative? What the alternative is, we're all gonna stay inside for God knows how long, and that just can't. I think we all know that's not going to happen. So we're going to have to see which precautions. One, everyone has to form their own philosophy. Like, it's just everyone's got to determine what they feel comfortable doing, and then we got to start seeing which precautions make sense, right? Because like I told you, you know, I've been out there a little bit because I just had to get out of LA. I went to Texas, and Texas is more open.
Hold on, tell people right now. You went from LAX.
Yeah, I had some people in Austin. I was like, you know something, I got to get out of here. So LAX, yeah, it's eerie. There's no, there's not much. Usually you can anticipate you're going to be in bumper to bumper once you get into the circle around LAX. It's clean. It's clear. There's not that many people there. Security is a lot easier. You've got some precautions with a lot of the staff wearing masks, and you're expected to wear a mask. But the travel experience was mostly normal. The one where you are required you're expected to wear a mask on the plane, which I'll admit is a little uncomfortable and a little disorienting because you already kind of stale recirculated air and you're breathing into the mask, and you're supposed to be doing that just sitting there for a few hours. And, I'm interested to see people dive deeper, and some of the health experts really start to tell us, like, listen, what are the risks and rewards of wearing a mask, sitting in a seat on a plane for more than, let's call it, 2 hours, right? I want to start learning about that. It felt a little weird, and also it felt a little strange and a little off kilter that if you need to drink your drink or eat your food, you don't have to wear the mask. And it's like, all right, well, what if I'm sitting here sipping my fucking coffee for an hour and 15 minutes of the flight? I've pretty much violated the protocol. Yeah. So that was strange.
No, I'm just saying, look, bro, I flew to New York City when everyone was catching it, and I knew I was the only person wearing a full mask and everything. Look, man, after about 3 hours, even after 2, I was like, yo, bro, this is difficult to do. I bought the entire it was seat 2E and 2F. I bought the 2 first class seats in JetBlue, and I said, fuck this. I'm buying this shit. Too bad, man. So I bought those 2 seats. I don't want anybody sitting next to me. And they're saying, oh, don't worry about it. The air recirculates. It has a HEPA filter and blah, blah. And I'm like, well, at least I'm in the first 2 rows. But if the motherfucker in front of me decided to sneeze, I could be fucked. But what I'm getting at is I did read that there is some way of, like, I don't know if it's CO2 that you lose, or I forgot what the exact term is, but, you lack oxygen if you're breathing that mask, for fucking 4 hours. If let alone, what about you going to Asia? 16 hours. Like, what the fuck do you do if you're not in first? If you're sitting with the cattle fucking run and downstairs and with everyone else, where there's a 1 row of 5 chairs, and then there's a row of 3 next to them, and 3 on the other side. And it's like, bro, you're in the middle of all of that shit. Like, that's like my biggest fear. Like, I just won't fucking fly then.
No, 100%. And we got the health cross currents of benefits and risks of masks are really accentuated in that flight situation. And so, we'll have to monitor that one. So then, I get to Texas, and, it's clearly more active than California. There's more people out. The restaurants feel open, but not full. But it still felt like this city's really not back to normal. I got in there on a Tuesday. I'm there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It kind of felt like, listen, I went to a private gym. They had their precautions there. And it felt like you're kind of 50% open. And even we went out to some bars, but the bars were pretty dead. They were mostly ghost towns.
Okay. So were there plastic plexiglasses at the tables? Can you tell me?
Not a ton. And then it's also this weird thing where they tell this is not going to hold up because it's not going to make sense to people, where they tell you have to wear the mask going into the restaurant, but then as soon as they even bring you your fucking water, you can take it off. Like, all right, like I see what you guys are trying to do.
No,
you're trying to enforce some, like put some precautions into place, but that's not going to make sense to people. They're going to look at it and say, what's the benefit of me doing this if I'm just literally walking through the threshold of the restaurant and I'm supposed to wear this mask and then I take it off? And I don't know what the answer is. I've got to think this through, and I got to see how some things transpire. But that's just it. People are going to look at it, and it's not going to be logical to them because it's not. So, I think we're going to have to develop a consensus on that is precautionary, but that people can sink their teeth into, that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess we just got to see, bro, because I saw that Las Vegas shit, and I was like, bro, this is some fucked up shit. This is going to be, because I'm not worried about the Las Vegas locals. I'm worried about all the people that are going from New York, Florida, fucking Atlanta, anywhere that had a hot spot, Ohio, all the hot spots, like, man, let's go to Vegas, fuck this. And that's what happened to Wuhan. 5 million people left Wuhan. You know what I'm saying? They went and fucking got people infected in Italy, so they want to get out, and the people are like, nah, I don't want to wear a mask. I'm fucking this. I'm anti-vaxxer, blah, blah, whatever. Anyways, man, I'm sorry. That was my last question, but my real last question is, have you been tested for COVID or for antibodies?
I haven't been tested. I have not. I had a lot of conversations early on with doctors just telling me about how they were still working out all the kinks and ironing everything out with the tests. And I was just saying that I'm gonna get tested based on how I feel. If I believe I'm getting sick, even in, I'm pretty tuned to my body, I'm gonna go get tested right away. And blessed to have access to testing. And then even beyond that, the period where people are trying to figure out what the results of a test mean, and they might have been overestimating the safety that they had by showing some antibodies. And so it felt like there wasn't I wasn't going to get enough clarity on the results of the test to feel that just getting tested just for the fuck of it, and as opposed to in response to not feeling well, was going to make sense.
I respect it. Look, Matt, I really appreciate it, man. Every single person who's been on this show, every guest from, major celebrity to, attorneys now, whatever the fuck it may be, I always ask them, is there a question you would like to ask me? And that's really the final question of the show.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the first thing that caught my eye, I told you, when we first talked, it's like, you threw this tweet out, you're just like, man, I'm just a normal guy. He likes to hang out, smoke weed, do this and that, but my hustle's no fucking joke. So, you give me a bowl of rice, I'll have a Chinese restaurant for you. And I was like, dude, this dude's good. So where does that hustle come from? How do you, okay, how about this? How do you maintain that hustle for that amount of time through so many different phases and that amount of energy with with so many balls in the air? I think that's really impressive.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. It's about to fall all apart very soon. I just had a conversation with my producers. I know Miles and Jordan are going to listen to this and laugh. My producers of the Behind the Baller podcast, they're workaholics. They're younger. I'm 47, and shit, I'm 47 and a half. And I do realize that there's a lot on my plate. I have a top charting podcast. I have a top jewelry business, which is a overall actual business. I have two different cannabis businesses, and I have a lot of partnerships with sponsors. I have an NFL endorsement. I have a Major League Baseball endorsement, and I'm working with, I have an NBA 2K, so basketball with, the video game. Today, everything came on my shoulder, and I said, hey man, look, there has to be a point where I have to kind of maybe delegate. You know what I'm saying? I have to give somebody some responsibility, and there has to be this. And I found a couple of people to help me, but the issue at hand now is I have to stop a few things. I just have to. I'm not fucking, Warren Buffett or anybody else. It's not the control thing. It's the fact that I've been able to do this all myself. So for me to stop for 3 weeks or 4 weeks to teach somebody something, I don't know if I could do that because it slows down what's going on, and everything's kind of it's synchronized, even through COVID, even through the pandemic. So with that said, my wife has been, in quarantine for 4 months and a half, and my kids have been homeschooled the whole nine. We need to take maybe a possible 7 to 10 day legit break with no phone and no podcast and everything, which, it sucks, but it's something for my family's health. It's something for my wife's stress, for our marriage and everything. So with that said, it's funny you brought that up now. I do have a couple very successful ventures that are surprisingly happening, that are just making insane money, like with this baseball card stuff. But I am going to have to slow down a few things. And with that said, my drive came from my mom. My mom averaged from, I think, around 1980, 1979, 1978. From 1978 to like 1992, I think my mom averaged between 90 to 110 hours a week. She never missed, I think she never did less than 90 hours a week work, manual labor. And the crazy part was, it wasn't like she was investing in tons of stocks or anything. She was manually sewing dresses and then got more machines, then got more workers, then taught people. She literally taught people until she had a factory of 100 people, and she had it with no money. She started out in the garage. My parents came here with like, $100, nothing. And my mom just worked really hard. I think that's where my hustle came from. That's where my energy came from. The only problem is I am exhausted by the end of the day. When I do get my sleep, my kids are ready to seize the day. There's no they don't get, I want to go back to sleep. That's not my kids. At 6 a.m., they're ready to go run a 10K marathon. You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck what's going on. What they don't want to do is go to school, but they're up and ready to, to fuck shit up. And my daughter to everyone. So that being said, I pull a 3 a.m. night, you know, I'm going to get 3 hours. I might be able to get a nap when they're doing their work and everything else, but that's where it's starting to finally take a toll and give me a little bit of age in my face. So I have to say no more often. And I've been saying no. There's a lot of power in saying no, but I'm saying no to jobs. I'm saying no to certain things, but I'm also playing chess. You know, there's something out there, but I made commitments. And one thing about me that I love is that when I take on a job, even if it's like, yo, look I just took on a sanitation job. I'm going to be cleaning fucking trash cans and this, and this, but I'm going to be the president of that shit. I'm going to be the Michael Jordan. I'm going to be the Kobe. I'm going to be the Warren Buffett of this game. And that's how I take every endorsement, partnership, or anything I do. But again, it's very exhausting. And now because it's been going really strong, and someone on my age to remain relevant in this culture and in this pop, you know, world and influence and whatever, I have to work 20 times harder than the 27-year-old, than the 21-year-old, than the 32-year-old. And every year, I haven't just remained relevant, I've actually even gotten bigger. So I do want to retire in a few years. I do have enough saved, I think, you know, pretty much to where I can still maintain the lifestyle. And that's just where I'm at. That's just me.
I hear you, man. Well, Ben, it's been great. You know, listen, a lot of rough stuff going on recently, but it's been great to, you know, to connect with you recently and, you know, get to know you better and you know, appreciate you having me on here and, you know, for you giving us some insight into how you operate, because it's extremely impressive, and, you know, look forward to finding ways to collaborate and work with you, you know, going forward for sure.
Yeah. And I'd like to say real quickly, no disrespect to all the great guests, because we've had pro NFL, NBA players. We've had celebrities like George Lopez. We've had some big people on here, and not to take anything away from them, but it's very nice to have an intellectual person who is very articulate and uses 3-4 syllable words and has a vast vocabulary. I appreciate it. Matt, man, thank you again. We'll bring you back on soon. Yo, Miles, man, can you throw me some of that Lakey Lake? And we'll be right back with the outro. So what up, y'all? I hope you enjoyed that interview. Matt is a interesting dude. He's smart though, really smart. Matt Belinsky. You'll see it on the on the episode notes. You could check out how to find him on social media. Smart dude. You know what, man? The internet obviously is on fire still. A lot of emotions. A lot of people are talking shit and everything else. Ice Cube has been tripping lately. I thought his account got hacked, and I think it did. In fact, they had to, because I think he deleted all the tweets. But there was some crazy shit that was being said on Ice Cube's page, you know. And Ice Cube has been a very militant type dude, very outspoken, very, very intelligent dude. Ice Cube is a fucking phenomenal writer. I told you, if we are talking about people in their primes, if the greatest of all time, Cube has to be in the top 5 greatest MCs ever in history. If you're talking about from 1987, like 1988 to 1993, there's no motherfucking way. Even Jay and all the biggest dudes, they give it up. Like I said, when we were doing the Song Cry video shoot with Jay-Z, I remember being in the trailer, and I walk into Jay's trailer, and Jay's listening to America's Most Wanted. You have to understand, when you listen to America's Most Wanted, that motherfucker is spitting so much shit. Real insane bars. Crazy. But he's been acting fucking nutso. And I fuck with Cube. I never had a great personal relationship with Cube. I idolized dude. I ended up working at Priority. I was a fucking head executive. There was like a weird, not a clause, but there was an unwritten rule that you don't speak to Ice Cube. Only like 4 people in the office could. And that right there, I ain't gonna lie to you, because his son O'Shea is like fucks with me. He's a fan of mine. I fuck with him, and I don't say fan like he's a fan of my work, you know, of my jewelry work and everything. Cool dude, seems very chill. But Cube's always been not really the most friendly person, and that's cool, you know, whatever. It's all good. I'm sure he'd be cool now because there's a lot of things I haven't bumped into him, but he definitely was, you know, and he went through a lot of shit. So I'm not defending him. Whatever it is, what it is, different world. But he's been sending crazy ass tweets lately. Russian conspiracy. A lot of people are saying it's anti-Semitic. Jewish star with the black cube inside and crazy stuff. I don't know, man. Some crazy shit. And I got, obviously, Ben Shapiro had to say something about it. But Ben Shapiro ain't going to do shit. He's just going to sit there and just take it. One of the homies, Bodega Boys, he said, Ben Shapiro, bro, you remind me of them dudes in the cuckold videos where the wife is getting smashed by some black dude and they just sit in the corner of the room. And I just started laughing. I actually said some shit to him. I don't like Twitter finger people. If you want to get nice and get down, do it. But don't talk like that if you're not really about that life, man, because you don't understand. Like, don't expect the law to protect you. I've never, ever, 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 never, ever, 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 never, ever, not ever have I fucking called the police in my lifetime. And I never would. All right. Dead ass serious. But I want to read this note real quick on cancel culture. Thought it was fucking brilliant. And I have no idea who the fuck wrote it. Doesn't say it. It just popped up on my timeline and it says, and this is regards to cancel culture. If you are the kind of person who seeks to cancel others and you spend an entire day or set of days combing through someone's social media from their youth, looking to find ammo, don't you think your time could be better served elsewhere? We're in the midst of an incredible movement that's making Americans rethink how they operate. And we're asking them to learn, to grow, and to change. If we can't accept who someone is today in their most current iteration and accept their change and their apologies, then how are we supposed to get better? How are we to expect people to be better if we're constantly putting people who have failed down permanently? I think it's an incredibly shameful thing to seek credit and fame for being the canceller. I think it's shameful to sit excitedly on someone's Twitter with bated breath as they hurl tremendously offensive accusations at someone that they do not personally know and share those baseless accusations with a wider network. This isn't a healthy way to go on living. We shouldn't be propping up negativity and seeking it out to feel better about ourselves. Maybe this is Psych 101 bullshit, but maybe a reminder won't hurt because I think we're losing our way. If someone said or did something offensive a week ago, that's a different story. But still, shouldn't people be allowed to apologize and change? I think we're forgetting what a difference 5 or 10 years can make on our psyche and our progression. Now look, I fucking agree to that times a billion. Motherfucker, do you know who I was 10 years ago? There's tweets about me getting my dick sucked, drinking beer in the shower like 9 years ago. Fuck am I talking about? I've been married for like 12, 13 years ago. But what I'm getting at is, you want to find old shit of someone saying faggot or someone saying gook or someone saying the N-word or some shit. Like, man, chill. What the fuck is wrong with you? And it's like, man. And these people, even the ones who are the strongest and toughest, like fucking, like even that dude, Bro Azay, that dumb motherfucker. My boy sent me a picture of this link and this black chick who works for fucking, what the fuck is the fucking company I did fucking Uncut Gems, A24 or whatever. And she's like, I had pointed out and told him because he's one of my best friends. And bitch, shut the fuck up. Bitch, nobody give a fuck about you, ho. Fuck out of here. Fucking goofy ass bitch. Because you fucking friends with this goofy ass ginger fucking Peter Bilinsky motherfucker. Fuck him and fuck you. Give a fuck what color you are, bitch. I don't give a fuck what the fuck you're talking about. That shit don't mean nothing. You know how fucking stupid you sound? If we both went on a platform together and you two were on one side of the podium and I was on another podium and we broke down what we've done for society. And this ain't no contest about what I'm just talking about what I've done. A lot of things that were not promoted by me or on my podcast or on my social media or nothing, people will be fucking shocked. And then the consensus will be like, nah, listen, nobody can speak who hasn't spent at least, 100 hours with Ben. All right. Do you have any idea how fucking bad you'd look? You'd look like a fucking idiot. So anyways, going on about that cancel culture shit is fucking stupid, okay? You know what else to me is dumb, though? Is, and we're done with that. I agree with that statement. I just wanted to read it. But, you know, the YouTube culture, I can't wait till that motherfucker has a real correction, too, because it just needs to just flatten out the bullshit. I try not to watch any car videos that have a person talking about it. I don't want to hear shit about what you got to say, motherfucker. I don't even give a fuck if you're describing the car. I know pretty much everything I need to know. I want to see a car video. Give me some text on the video. I don't want to hear your motherfucking mouth. All right. That goes for Supercar Blondie, who every time I watch a video and she pops up, I want to kill myself. I've met her a couple times. She showed up to car events. She is just what's wrong with car videos and car bloggers and this, that, whatever. No offense to Alejandro, who's a Salamandrin, whatever, and here and there. He's pretty cool. And, you know, I've met him here and there. But at the same time, when I hear his voice and I hear the thing, I'm just like, man, bro, man, come on, man. And you know, my family, World Star, they post the videos. But it's like, someone needs to start a GoFundMe. Actually, I'll pay for it. Supercar Blondie. I forgot what the fuck your name is. Your name is stupid as fuck, number one. Could you imagine my fucking name was fucking Yellow Jeweler? Like, could you fucking imagine Asian Jeweler? That was my fucking name. It's just, come on, man. But her voice alone just makes me fucking want to vomit. And no GoFundMe page. Fuck that. I will pay for the lip injections, for the collagen injections and the fillers inside your lips. You need to get some motherfucking lips. You must drink a bottle of water and that shit follows through your fucking chin and your neck and everything. Fuck is up with you? Like, I'm cool. Going on, entertainment-wise, I have started watching Bosch again. That's where it's at. There ain't shit to watch. I literally started season 3 again, and I finished season 3. Bosch is so fucking good. I cannot tell you. This is now the 3rd time I have watched every season, all back to back. You know what I'm saying? And now it's the 3rd time watching season 3. I just finished season 3. I'm starting season 4, and it's fucking amazing. I wish I spoke about this on the weekend wrap up. Don't know why I didn't. Again, my brain, I told you I am overloaded. I have too much information in my head. I need to fart it out, and I need to fucking delete a ton of things in my mind. And but Be Like Water, a 30 for 30 ESPN documentary on Bruce Lee was very good. I have seen a lot of things on Bruce Lee. I have watched all his movies. Every actual feature film that Bruce Lee has ever done, I have seen at least 100 times minimum. Every single one. I don't know what year, but they changed the Return of the Dragon to The Way of the Dragon. I don't know when that happened. It's just fucking weird, but they did. I don't know what the fuck it was. I don't know if it was a legal issue, but it is very good. Bruce Lee's philosophy in life was fucking impeccable. It was flawless. It was literally perfect. All right. You should watch it. I don't want to say anything else. People worship celebrities and they put them on a pedestal. This was a different type person. This dude was really about that life. They had to slow down his kicks and everything, where in most karate, kung fu, martial art movies, they speed up the shit. No, Bruce Lee was a bad motherfucker in life, on camera, everything. It was fucking crazy. It was just fucking dope as fuck. On a sports level, obviously waiting for this basketball situation. It sounds crazy as fuck. I talked to my man, Jock Peterson, and yesterday is June 10th, and they're supposed to be, spring training. They're supposed to start. I mean, he said it was supposed to, tentatively June 10th, but he's chilling at home on his fucking Echelon bike. He's like, yeah, no, we ain't doing shit. And he's trying to get some exercise, because I know baseball, and he wants to get this cracking, and everyone wants baseball to start, but they thought it was going to start June 10th as far as practice, so we can get a July 4th, but there's arguing going on. There's all kinds of shit. I'm not saying he said that. I'm saying that's what I'm hearing, but that is just what's going on. Real quick, before we finish this, I said, I got asked if I discipline my kids. It's something that comes up pretty often. Me and my wife, we were raised totally different. I mean, I'm talking complete polar opposites. She had a lot of guidance. My brother was most of my guidance for me. My mom worked very, very hard, and I understand why she did. I truly do. With that said, my mom was very strict. When she was tired and she was fed up, my mom would whoop my ass, and my mom would whoop my ass, not play games. I see my mom whoop other people's asses. She's gotten beat up before. I've seen her get mugged in front of me. It's been a lot of crazy shit that I've seen in my life. And my wife grew up with extreme love, very over affectionate, very concerned, very pretty strict too. They didn't let Nicolette out of the house at like 15 or 16. She wasn't allowed to date, even though she had a boyfriend. And like, Nick was always cute. I've seen pictures of her when she was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And my wife was she's been, beautiful all her life. And it's funny because, they would do shit like, they told me went back when VCRs were around. I'm sure most of you people have no idea what the fuck a VCR is. But they would put like forks and knives inside the VCR and it would break it. And then they would just kind of like get in trouble. They didn't really get spanked. And I'm about to get into some shit right now that's very deep. And it took almost 9 years for me to explain to my wife the actual, in specific, in detail, how serious I was hit by my dad and why I don't fuck with him. And my brother got beat worse than me, which is crazy. I still think because my brother wasn't around because he went to boarding school and he was always just focused on school. And that's what my parents, all they cared about was school. Motherfuckers, they were ready to go broke as long as people did well in school. And that was just how Asian families were. Now, what I'm about to tell you, I have to be honest with you. Back in my day, I grew up around a lot of black people. I obviously had Asian family members, right? But it was real common for a Korean fucking dad to beat the shit out of a kid from like the 70s, 80s, and even to the 90s. And when I say beat, I'm talking about spank, hit, stick, belt, you name it. Like get your ass whooped. That shit don't exist these days. You go to jail and all this other stuff. And I wish that was what it was when I was a kid. But I'm talking about my dad, when I was, young, from age 6 to age 15. All right, for that 9-year span. My dad is like 5'10", 200, but like a solid, my dad is a husky guy, right? I'm taller than my dad. He's a husky dude. He would close hand fist, punch me in the head, in the mouth, in the back of my neck, in my hands, my arms, my legs. And I'm talking about, he should be able to knock out a grown-ass man with how hard he hit me. And he would get running starts to do that with, I'm talking 100% of every bit of strength that he had. And mind you, I was a bad kid. I get it. Did I deserve to get hit like that? No, fuck no. And, let's say, for instance, I'd be in the bathroom. I'd have to sit on my knees for like 30 minutes. And you could be, I don't give a fuck how old you are, how resilient you are. 30 minutes in a closed room with the lights off. 1, you're scared. 2, you know what the fuck's going on. And then 3, you can't move because your body is like so like, you know what I mean? Your legs are sore and you sit there. Then you come, the door opens up after 30 minutes. And then my dad either slapped the fuck out of me or literally, like I said, 100% of all his strength going to a punch and then repeat. And it was like, I got beat with belts. And I remember one time I got hit with the belt so many times. I had lacerations all over my back and everything. So I had to they had to put fucking Vaseline on me. They had to put ice cubes on me. You name it, everything. Because I couldn't go. It was impossible. And I had to miss a day or two of school because I was beaten so bad. I literally had like welts, lacerations, the whole 9. And this was just a common thing that had happened from age like, I want to say like age 5 to like age 13 or 14. And like now I'm kind of like, yo, man, okay, you beat the shit out of me, put it out, whatever. And then, I got kicked out of a lot of schools. I had mentioned that before. I got kicked out of, fucking 9 schools. When I was in kindergarten, I got kicked out of a bunch of schools. But I'm talking about from 6th grade to high school, I was kicked out of so many schools. I got in trouble all the time. I think it was from my upbringing, and there's a lot of fucking mental issues when I think about it. And my biological father, he has dementia. He has a little bit of Alzheimer's. He's just out of it. And trying to talk to him is difficult. And my brother and I, we this is some very personal shit that I'm getting into. We get into it, and my brother's like, yo, man, this is just, it's like being mad at a dog. And I'm like, hey, David, you know what, man? That's what you do. Fuck him. Like, real talk, man. There was just so many of my glory years of high school that should have been great fucking years for me. They sucked. The only thing I did have was sports, and thank God for that. I got into school because of that. But, he felt like that was the best thing for me. I don't think, this is the crazy part, I don't think my dad didn't love me. I think my dad loved me the most, which is the craziest part about all this shit. But that was just how Korean people dealt with this shit. And I think about it like, my kids are so spoiled and whatever, and I kiss them 100 times a day. I tell them there's no affection in a Korean household. That's just, I think it's, with most Asians who are listening to this, if you're over 30, I think you understand that. But I'm talking about, again, if I hit London as hard as I could, I would 100% kill him. Like, he was going, like, it was just crazy. Closed fist, open hand, you name it. And I'm talking like, I couldn't imagine, you know, and he beat my mom's ass as well and everything. It was just too much, man. I think about it now. I was like, nah, man, it's too much. I'm not the bigger guy. You know, he's real old. He's in his mid to late 80s now. You know, I'm sure his last days are probably, you know, coming up and certain things. And I've even to the point where, you know, I'm not 100%, I'm going to go to the funeral. But, you know, we'll see. And I'm not really speaking to my father, and my brother's upset about it. My sister understands, you know, and it's just like, man, it's just too much. Nah, fuck that. It's just too much, man. It was just a really shitty job of raising me. And I'm not trying to punish anybody. I'm just like, man, it's just too much pain. So my wife thinks I need to go see a therapist and get the rest out of it. And that's why she thinks I'm the way I am and how I'm crazy and everything else. And I've get into a lot of fights. And, you know, someone asked me the other day, like, when's the last time you got in a fight? And I'm like, bro, I get into a physical fist fight at least once a year. Once a year, I always let someone hit me first. That is the first thing. I let them touch me. And then either they get fucked up, I hit them with a stick or some other shit, and I always end up getting sued. It's crazy. And now people will be like, all right, well, let's just do this podcast and we'll rewind and be like, oh, Ben has anger issues. You know, I probably do. That doesn't mean that you can beat this fucking case because I got a great attorney. And again, I will do everything in my power to make sure that I don't antagonize you. I don't start nothing, anything. You have to fuck with me. And then after that, bro, it's game over. And that's why I've always been smart about, and I've won all my cases. But do I think it's an issue? I do. Has it given me, you know, these rages and things? Yeah. But I definitely have been a different person ever since my kids were born. And I'm very loving, and especially with Kaya, it's softened me up like crazy. Speaking of which, before we sign off, man, listen, I've just been downsizing, and I already feel like I have way too fucking much. But I'm just cleaning everything up. I'm trying to give, and I'm not trying to be on no Elon Musk, have no possessions. I like having a few possessions. I'm just saying 6, 7 cars is just unnecessary. You know, even 4 is starting to get, you know, kind of crazy. And I got to 5, praying I'm going to be at 3, because 7 was crazy. And then my boy Jeff, by the way, my heart is with Jeff from Riff. I hope everything's going good with you, bro. He got one of the whips, and then I got 5, and I'm trying to get rid of these 2, downsizing. I just don't care the same way I used to. 3 is beyond enough. If ever I do buy a home in San Francisco, and obviously there's only one area I would live in, we would get down to 2 cars. But anyways, going on, man, that was some deep personal shit that I thought I'd just let you guys in on, and maybe why I act the way I do. And I don't know. You know, again, man, you got to sit into a room and drink some water, take some deep breaths, and, you know, hold your breath for 15 seconds, let it out slowly. Just get into some meditation mode. I try to do this shit every single day. I've been really trying to just free my mind. Again, guys, I can't explain to you how much I appreciate all of my listeners. This is a very, very deep episode that I did not plan on it being deep, but that's all the time we got. Again, I don't know how many times I got to tell you guys, please subscribe, please tell your friends, and let them know about Behind the Baller. You know, going to try to figure out episode 100. It's coming. I'm going to try to take some time off. I might not. We don't know yet. I don't know yet. I'm going to figure it all out. Meanwhile, we're going to keep it pushing. This is not your practice life. I want you to understand that. I want you to overstand that and know that I love you guys. And I just thank you again for all the support. All right, y'all. All right. Yo, Lakey Lake, man. You already know, homie. Take us home, bro.